Hi guys! So I'm back to normal. So it's been a while, but I'm going to be talking about Raam's Shadow. This is downloadable content for Gears of War 3. This video will contain spoilers if you haven't played it or if you want to play it, so let's get started. Raam's Shadow takes place 5 years before Gears of War 2. Gears of War 1 and 2 are split up by like 6 months, so they're pretty much 5 years before Gears of War 1 and 2, Raam's Shadow. So it is a prequel. It's not just a prequel to Gears of War 3, it's a prequel to all the Gears of War games. It's 1,200 Microsoft points, which is kind of hefty, but I mean, if you're a huge Gears fan, then it's worth it. It really is a fun DLC, but if you're not that big of a Gears fan, then it might be too much money for you and you might not want to get it. I mean, it might go down in price, I don't know, but I think it's worth getting. It's a pretty important, or not important, but cool DLC for big Gears fans. It has 5 chapters and it's the campaign's about 3 hours long. It does have a multiplayer aspect to it, has new maps. I haven't tried it. I probably won't. I'm not a big multiplayer gamer, but I heard it's pretty fun. I don't know. Raam's Shadow is a lot like Gears of War 3. Just because, well, obviously it came after Gears of War 3. Even though it is a prequel, you do see all the weapons that you saw in Gears of War 3. Because you know how some weapons in Gears of War 3 were pretty much exclusive to that game. Like the Retro Lancer, the sawed-off shotgun, and also like that, what's it called? The loader, that big robot thing that you get to use. That is also in Raam's Shadow, so it's all in there. It's a pretty intense DLC. The gameplay is intense. That's probably the best word I could find for it. It's fun and intense. I mean, it's pretty much what you would expect from a Gears title. And even though it's Charlie, shut up. And even though it's just a DLC and it's only like 3 hours long, it does have all that action-packed stuff. And I think it's so intense just because it is a DLC and it's so short. But it does live up to that whole adrenaline rush aspect that Gears has always entertained people with. Another thing that I really liked about this downloadable content is that you get to see characters that, if you're a huge Gears fan and you've read the books and you've read the comics and you know pretty much everything about Gears, you see characters that you didn't get to see enough of in the games or in the books or in the comics. So it's cool to see them again. They all are characters that none of them were created for this downloadable content. These are characters that have existed in the Gears universe. The one that people think is new, but he's not, is the main character. The main character, the character that you play as in the campaign, in the single player campaign, and that is Michael Barrick. He's the guy that's pretty much bald up here and has hair on the side, and the cigar. He's not a new character. He's actually been in the comics. He was in this comic. This is the first Gears of War graphic novel, and he was pretty much in this whole graphic novel. This is the series of 1 through, I think this is the first 6, yeah, the first 6 comics of Gears of War. This is where Michael Barrick makes an appearance. So it was really cool to see him as a character in the game, because we only got to see him in the comic. He's right there. Oh, and in case you're wondering what happened to the Skyrim map that I had back there on the door, it fell. I have it right here. I just have to put it back up. Anyways, the story behind Raam's Shadow is it's pretty much the evacuation of Ilima. one of the 3 cities that surround Jacinto. In Gears of War 2, all the cities around Jacinto were sunk. And the reason why they're doing this is because they want to get to Jacinto, to be able to sink Jacinto, because Jacinto has been the human stronghold for a long time, for years, and the locusts haven't been able to get to it because it's made out of bedrock, and the locusts can't come up through the bedrock. So it's pretty much the safest city on Serra. And this Raam's Shadow, it takes place in the evacuation of Ilima, and the reason why they had to evacuate Ilima is because what's shown in the downloadable content, that the cedars are those plants that come up on the out of the ground, and they look like plants, and they throw these like seeds that are on fire, and they explode. They ink the sky. They pretty much throw out what are they called? Nemesists. And these nemesists are those seed things that I'm telling you, and they ink the sky. They make the sky black. And the reason why they're doing this is because they want to get the krill out. And the krill are those bats that you saw in Gears of War 1 that are annoying as hell. They pretty much just come out in the dark, and they'll eat you. They will tear you apart, and they flock in groups, large groups. It's not just like one little bat that's flying around. So if you go anywhere near the dark, krill will just like cover you up and destroy you. And if you're in the light, the krill can't get to you because they don't go out in the light because they burn. So that's why the Locust Queen, wants the cedars to ink the sky, so that the krill could come out and it'd pretty much be like it's night. So that's what they're doing at Ilima, and they can't stop this because there's just too many of them. So they're evacuating the whole city, and they've got Zeta Squad helping out with the evacuation. And Zeta Squad consists of Michael Barrick, Lieutenant Min Young Kim, Ty Calisso, and Alicia Valera. These characters, like I said, they're all existing characters before this downloadable content. Probably the only 2 that you guys haven't heard of, if you're not really big on Gears, is Michael Barrick and Alicia Valera. I didn't know about Alicia Valera, but I did know about the last name Valera. I was like, sounds familiar. And the way that we know about Valera is her little brother. Her little brother enlists in the COG afterwards, and he is mentioned, I believe, in Gears of War 1. So Alicia Valera is, I guess, she's probably the new character, but the idea of her was already existent. Lieutenant Min Young Kim is the guy that he was in Gears of War 1, if you remember. He was pretty much the leader of Delta Squad. When Marcus joins Delta Squad in the beginning, he's not the leader of Delta Squad like he becomes later. It's Min Young Kim, and he is killed in Gears of War 1, and then because he dies, Marcus becomes the leader of Delta Squad. So that's who Min Young Kim is. And Ty Calisso, if you guys remember him from Gears of War 2, he's the guy with the tattoos on one side of his face. I don't remember how his hair is in Gears of War 2, but I think he has a mohawk in Gears of War 2. He has a mohawk in Raam's Shadow. But Ty Calisso is a gear that has been in the COG for years. He knew Marcus when they were very young. So he's been there. He's been through pretty much everything that Marcus and Dom have been through. He's an islander, and he pretty much talks like in metaphors all the time. He's the guy that kills himself in Gears of War 2 because he was tortured by the Locusts. So that's who Zeta Squad is. RAAM is the Locust General. He pretty much looks like a boomer, but not as brutish. He doesn't look like he's just like boom. He actually like says words, and he's covered in krill. These bats. That's his weapon pretty much. He was in Gears of War 1, and the Queen talks to him directly, telling him what she wants him to do. The cool thing about this downloadable content is that you get to play as the cog and as the locust. You get to be you actually get to play as General RAAM, and it's pretty crazy. It's a pretty epic scene because well, not scene because you do get to play as him for a few times. The first time you get to play as General RAAM is in the second chapter. And you pretty much you're indestructible. You are a walking tank. And it's kind of weird. It's kind of like it doesn't really make sense because when you're the cog, these guys go down not easy, but they go down. And when you're playing as the locust, these guys don't go down. I mean, there's cog that are fighting you, and you just destroy them like nothing, and they can't even touch you. You're like indestructible, and you're like, but it's really fun. It's really cool. It's pretty epic, especially the first time that you get to play as RAAM. You're just like, oh my god, the whole time. You just send the krill to whatever you want, and it'll destroy the whatever it touches. So it's pretty crazy. And what General RAAM is doing is he's got like a band of bodyguards, like of what are they called? Grinders, I think they're called. The ones that go grind. I think he has those, and he also has the, I forgot what they're called. I don't think that's the grinder, but they have the shield and the, I forgot what they're called, but he has like 2 of those guys with him, and they never go down. And then he's got another big dude that pretty much, I think they call him the thumper or something like that. He hits this nail into the ground with the hammer, and that's pretty much giving the cedars underground the location of where they have to go and come up. So that's what General RAAM is doing. He's pretty much leading these guys so that they could lead the cedars to the areas that they have to get the sky inked, so that they could ink the whole sky in that area. And the queen, the Locust Queen, you could hear her talking to General RAAM, telling him that you know, do this and do that, get the cedars out, and go to this area, blah blah blah. It's pretty fun. But it does get kind of like, okay, this isn't a challenge. You're just like I said, like a walking tank. You're indestructible, and you're the cog more than you are RAAM. RAAM is you're RAAM, I think, like 3 times.